All right, so I've got just a basic patch. I've got the make noise tempi working as my clock, which right now is just dividing it synchronized up to Ableton via the IntelliGel U MIDI, going into its tempo input, and then dividing that all currently. All the outputs out of the tempi are just bang on every quarter note. Then that's running out of there, triggering two envelopes in the IntelliGel Quadra, which is feeding into the ALM Busy Circuits Tangle Quartet, which then has two STOs, make noise STOs, that's going first through the two filters, low-pass filters of the IntelliGel Core Gasmatron, and then feeding that into channels 1 and 2 of the Tangle Quartet, and then feeding out of there into Ableton and applying a little bit of reverb and mixing inside of Ableton. So just cracked open, just installed this voltage block and want to check it out to see what it's all about. So in reading the forums on Muffwiggler, it seems like they've changed things just a little bit from the original intention. And the first thing that I found super useful to know is that if you hit the shift button, all the LEDs tell you which of the 8 available sequences, so the 8 sequences are outputting up top here, which are going to be edited by whatever parameters you change about like length, so sequence length, or the division of the incoming clock per channel. So right now, if I change the length or the scale for anything, it's going to change for all 8 channels. At least that's how I believe it's working. Still just getting into this module. Let's leave it currently editing all steps. Let's edit, all sequences. Then let's jump out of the shift mode. We've got up top here mute mode, length mode, shift mode, which brings us into these functions for these lower buttons down here: recall, save, and then scale. So kind of the strange thing about the voltage block, unlike some other modules by Malekko that look very similar, like the Varigate 4, is that each of these is not representing a step per sequence. So it's not 1 through 8 and then 9 through 16 with some sort of A/B switch somewhere, but rather each of these represents a channel or sequence. So sequence 1, sequence 2, sequence 3, sequence 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then the way that I edit the voltage or the pitch CV or whatever it is that I want per step within one of the 8 sequence is I hold down the step. So steps 1 through 8 and 9 through 16, I hold down the step that I want to edit and then adjust the slider related to the sequence that I want to edit. So I'll show you what I mean by this. So let's first get a clock coming in out of channel 1 on the tempi. Make sure we're set to listen to clock input. And that should be banging away there. There we go. It's moving super slow, so it looks like I've got some divisions set up here. So let's adjust our divide there. We can see as I turn that knob, it looks like I'm advancing through the sequence, but it's showing me how many divisions of the clock I've got. So let's go down to 1 division. Now we should see that jumping through every quarter note. If I turn on the metronome in Ableton, oops, looks like my clock's off a little bit, so let's bring that back around. Oop. There we go. Had to adjust the clock divide on the U MIDI to get that sequenced up. So we can kill the metronome now. We're locked in with Ableton. And now let's patch out channel or sequence 1 into the 1 volt per octave of the first make noise STO. And then I've got another channel triggering the same clock division into channel 1 or envelope 1, triggering envelope 1 on the Quadra, which is off screen, the IntelliGel Quadra. It's generating a short AD envelope, and I'll fade the volume of that up. A little bit of reverb being applied inside of Ableton there. All right, so we can hear channel 1 sequence 1, STO1, banging away. And now if I want to edit the length of this so that I don't get a 16-step sequence, maybe we just start with a 4-step sequence. Let's go into shift mode. Let's isolate just sequence 1. That way I'm only editing sequence 1, then edit out of shift mode, and then go into length. And now let's set the length from no longer being 16, but being 4 long, and X out of there. Now we can see I've just got a 4-step sequence. Then let's start adjusting the values. So let's go step 1, I like it being that low note, but step 2 on sequence 1 should be that. Step 3, step 4, sequence 1. So it's a little bit strange that you have to think about the slider as being sequence 1 and then holding down the step that you want to go through, but it actually kind of makes pulling things together really nice. It's just a different way of thinking about things. So let's bring in sequence 2. So let's go ahead and patch in to the 1 volt per octave of our second STO, make noise STO. So that's going into there. Then we've got a second or third, I guess at this point, channel coming out of the tempi, which is triggering the second envelope of the quadra. Let's bring that up. Let's get a little bit different timbres. So we can hear that. And then let's go in and let's make channel or sequence 2. Let's make sequence 2 a 8-step sequence. Sweet. Now let's go in and let's start editing that. So let's take this one up an octave or way up. So let's go step 2, sequence 2. Sorry, step 1, sequence 2. Step 2, sequence 2. Step 3. Step 4. Step 5. Step 6. Step 7. Step 8. And then let's go back to channel 1 or sequence 1 and let's adjust its division so that it's moving slower than that. So let's have it bang every 4 clocks. And then using the channel of the tempi, let's do the same thing, divide that 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we could go in and we could go back into shift. Let's select channel 2 or sequence 2. And then while we're still in shift mode, let's have channel 2 just go, or sequence 2 go randomly. Oh, actually, I guess that's random sequence. I just randomized all the voltages, of channel 2 or sequence 2, which is cool, but let's go back and let's exit out of shift mode. Let's go channel 2. And shift, then randomize the sequence. Awesome. So sequence 1 is still running forward. Check that by going back to sequence 1. see sequence 1 advancing, but sequence 2 is all sorts of random. So we could keep going, more features to look at and things like that, but that's enough to at least get you started. And the sweet thing is I still have 6 more sequences that I could use. These could be things for either sequencing pitch like we're using here, or just voltages, assuming that smooth feature is going to really come in handy when we're trying to modulate like filter cutoff frequencies, or maybe envelope attack times, decay times, things like that, and still have to look at this, what does CV and slave mean? So yeah, hope this helps you get started. I'm excited about this module because it's so much sequencer packed into such a tiny little space, so this can fit into my little performance case, and I've got a lot of sequencing built into this. So I'm pretty jazzed about this thing. All right, take it easy.